All right, Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers jumped on comments you made on Sky last week where you said the coalition would return the stage 3 tax cuts. Let me read those comments to you. Peter Stefanovic, your party has already said it won't support the changes if you win the next election. Will you roll back whatever changes are made? You said, well, this is our position. This is absolutely our position.
Yes, Andrew. Our position is that the tax relief everyone was promised under stage 3, that tax relief is what people should get. That's our starting point.
All right. Well, the government's trying to wedge you politically. They want you to vote against this in the Senate, and then they'll be able to say that you're against tax cuts for lower to middle income earners. Do you think the party room will resolve to keep the tax cuts for the lower end he's proposing and return the cuts to the higher end? In which case, they'll accuse you of being fiscally irresponsible.
We've got to go through the fine print on this, Andrew, because you can't trust anything this government says. And your questions to the Prime Minister about any dirty deal done with the Greens are very relevant here. We don't know what this legislation is going to look like. Will it be one bill that repeals stage 3 and a separate bill with new measures? Will it be something altogether different? And the Prime Minister is saying two things about, well, he won't trade with the Greens, but then he kind of left it open that he might. So we can't forecast. It's definitely impossible for us to say what we might do with a piece of legislation that we haven't even seen.
But have they got you if you don't pass on the $16? Or are saying not to?
We will look at whatever comes in front of us, but $28 billion of bracket creep is just one indication of how sneaky they were with this policy. So we have to go through the fine print on everything. We have to look very carefully at all of the numbers, because what this is a lifetime tax on aspiration. And you mentioned a couple of seats in your interview. Well, here in Sydney, there's Bennelong, there's Reid. In Western Australia, where I've just come back from, we've got Pearce, Hasluck, Swan, Tangney, Higgins in Melbourne. Every one of those members of Parliament stood there at the last election. They were voted in as Labor members based on no change to Labor's tax policy. So they were voted in on a lie. Now, I wonder what they think about that lie now. And also, Andrew, I wonder in the Teal seats, people may also be thinking, did our independents help us? They're pretty powerless in the face of this.
The PM's argument is that people on higher incomes still get a $4,500 a year tax cut. What do you say to that?
I say that this $28 billion stolen back from hard-working Australians over the next 10 years is a lifetime tax on aspiration. Now, if you're in one of the seats I just mentioned, maybe the median house price is about $1 million, you're trying really hard to get ahead. So you're saving, you're paying a mortgage, you might be trying to get a loan. So for everyone who's Gen Z or a millennial, this is an attack on your aspiration for the future. And I think that matters to Australians. And I think in those seats and many others across this country, people will be looking at that and thinking, well, here's a bloke you just can't trust. He didn't tell us about this. He's lied to our face more than 100 times. This liar in the lodge is really not the person we should have leading our country.
Right, just finally, there are reports this morning Kevin Rudd, our ambassador, is cozying up to Republicans in case Donald Trump gets elected. What do you make of that?
Well, the questions about Kevin Rudd's appointment and things that he said, and other members of Anthony Albanese's ministry have also said. There was, I think, a tweet from Claire O'Neill about Mr Trump and his family. So, you know, that's not very good for any of those. But I really would say I wish Kevin Rudd well, and he is our ambassador in the US, and we'll see what happens.
Susan Lee, Deputy Liberal Leader, thanks so much for your time this Sunday morning.